You've heard the number by now. AI saves you 11 hours a week. Maybe you've said it yourself in a meeting to sound current. Maybe you've heard your CFO say it, or read it in a slide deck built to justify a budget. But be honest, where did those 11 hours actually go? Did your week get shorter? Did your evenings open up? If you can't point to them, you're not imagining things. The number is real. It's also mostly not true. And the gap between those two facts is the most interesting thing happening in AI right now. Here's what actually happened. A major 2026 workplace study asked people how much time AI saves them. 75% said it makes them more productive. The average answer was 11 hours a week. That's the number everyone's repeating on stage, in pitch decks, in LinkedIn posts. It sounds huge because it is huge, if it's real. But separately, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis ran its own analysis using self-reported time savings fed into a standard economic model. Their number came out to 5.4% of work hours. In a 40-hour week, that's 2.2 hours. Not 11. 2. Roughly one full workday reclaimed, but over an entire month, not a single week. And a Denmark study went even further, and this is the one that should actually stop you. Researchers tracked 25,000 actual workers across 7,000 workplaces for 2 years. Not a survey, administrative labor records. 93% had used AI at work. 28% used it every single day. 19% said they personally saved more than an hour a day. And yet, when the researchers measured actual earnings, actual recorded hours, actual wages across 2 full years of adoption, they found nothing. A precise null effect. The confidence interval ruled out any change bigger than 2% in either direction. People felt faster. Nearly everyone felt faster. The paychecks and the timesheets simply didn't move. So why does this keep happening? Why does a tool that clearly speeds up individual tasks fail to show up in the actual numbers, or in actual wages, or in actual hours worked? Economists have a name for this now. They call it a productivity paradox. And it's not the first time it's happened. The exact same gap showed up in the 1980s when companies poured money into computers and for years measured productivity barely moved. This matters because if you've felt that same disconnect, if AI feels useful in the moment, but you can't explain where your week went, you're not bad at using it. You're experiencing something that's now been measured, named, and studied. Here's what's actually going on, broken into the 4 things the research keeps finding. The first is the self-report gap. People are genuinely bad at estimating time saved because the comparison in their head isn't real. When you finish a task fast with AI, your brain compares it to imagined slow work, not measured slow work. You picture the version of the task where you're stuck, frustrated, staring at a blank page for 20 minutes. Against that imagined struggle, almost anything looks like a miracle. That imagined baseline is almost always worse than reality, so the perceived savings inflate. This isn't a character flaw, it's just how memory and estimation work. And it's exactly why surveys and stopwatches keep disagreeing. The second is what researchers are now calling the Botsitting tax. This is the real one, and it's the part nobody puts in the marketing. One recent workplace report found that while people report saving 11 hours a week, they simultaneously spend an average of 6.4 hours a week on a new category of hidden labor. Feeding AI missing context it didn't have, checking its output, line by line, debugging its confident, specific, completely wrong answer, rerunning the same prompt because the first version didn't sound right and the second one didn't either. 60% of workers admit they run the same prompt through multiple tools, hoping one version sounds correct. Picture sending a report to your manager, confident in the numbers, only to find at Monday's meeting that 3 of the figures don't match the original spreadsheet. That's the bot-sitting tax showing up in public. That's not saved time, that's moved time, quietly relocated from the doing to the checking and dressed up as saved time on a survey. The third is the frequency multiplier, and this one actually cuts the other way. The people who saved real, measurable time weren't casual users. In the Fed's own data, a third of daily users reported saving at least 4 hours a week. Occasional users, the ones checking in once or twice, barely registered any savings at all. This tracks with basic skill building in general, not just AI. You don't get good at a tool by touching it twice a month and judging it on the second try. The tool isn't the variable here. Consistent, repeated use is the variable. Which means most of the disappointment people feel isn't about AI failing them. It's about dabbling once, forming an opinion, and expecting the results that only show up with daily practice. The fourth is the task ceiling, and it's the most important one to actually understand. Controlled studies on customer support agents found completion time dropped 40%, with output quality rising too. A separate study on professional writers found completion time fell as well, with quality actually rated higher by independent evaluators, and the weakest performers gained the most. A study on professional developers found a 55% speed increase on a well-defined coding task, finishing in just over an hour instead of nearly 3. These are real, rigorously measured, dramatic gains. But they all share something in common. They're bounded tasks with a clear right answer and a fast way to check it. A support ticket either gets resolved or it doesn't. Code either runs or it doesn't. Broad knowledge work, the kind most people actually do, doesn't have that structure. There's no clean finish line to measure against, no independent evaluator scoring your Tuesday. That's exactly the kind of work the Denmark study found no wage effect for at all. A broader review of task-level studies backs this exact pattern up. Across dozens of experiments, not just the handful I've named, in tightly controlled settings, productivity gains typically land somewhere between 20 and 60%. Out in actual workplaces, doing actual jobs, that range drops to 15 to 30%. And for plenty of tasks, even lower than that. The gap isn't a rounding error. It's the difference between a lab and a life. So here's the honest caveat. If your job is mostly open-ended judgment calls, strategy, communication, or decisions with no single correct answer, you should expect AI's actual time savings to be modest, not transformative. That's not a failure on your part. That's simply what the research currently shows, not what the keynote slide shows. None of this means the tools aren't worth using. Genuinely, it doesn't. It means the honest use case is narrower than the marketing. The real gains show up in a specific place, bounded, well-defined, repeatable tasks, used consistently, with a fast way to check the output. So here's the one thing to actually do. Pick one task from your week that has a clear right answer and a fast way to check it. Not your whole job. One task. Use AI on that one task every single day for the next 2 weeks. Then actually check whether the time moved. Look at your calendar. Look at what got done. Don't ask yourself how it felt. Felt is exactly the part that's been unreliable from the start. The honest version of AI's promise isn't that it saves your week. It's that it rewards the people who use it precisely on the right kind of problem, instead of everywhere, all at once, and hoping.